Welcome to another exciting episode of the BMW Blog Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Risch, and this week, gear up for an extraordinary conversation as we're joined by racing driver and BMW Motorsport brand ambassador, Samantha Tan. Buckle up, because in today's episode, we're delving deep into the world of high-octane adrenaline and into the captivating journey of Samantha's racing career. But that's not all. We're diving into her genuine passion of the BMW brand, from the classic E36 M3 to the coveted BMW 1M. We will also cover the story of how she managed to secure one of the most sought-after treasures in the BMW collector's realm, the new $750,000 BMW 3.0 CSL. Let's get started.
Samantha, welcome.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Super excited to be here.
Thanks for joining. Honestly, I know you're quite busy, so I appreciate you taking the time. We'll try to keep it maybe like around 1 hour, so we're not going to go over that. But we're going to jump right in. So I'm Horatiu, that's Nate. And we're going to be going back and forth with some questions, and follow-ups and all of that. So let's start right away. I know from my own research that you're a BMW fan. So maybe tell me more about how your love for the brand started and how far back.
Yeah, so it started when I was very young. My dad's also a big car enthusiast and BMW enthusiast, so like some of my earliest memories were of him driving me to school in his E36 M3. It was a Euro spec edition as well, and Dakar yellow. I still remember all these details.
That's awesome.
That's what really, I think, sparked my interest in cars, because he used to take me to a lot of like car meets and track days. And then when I was finally old enough to reach the pedals, he put me in some of the like BMW performance driving schools, because he really wanted me to learn proper car control. And unfortunately for him, I loved it. and then that spiraled into my whole racing career. But other than that, the car I learned manual in is the car I still have today. It's the BMW 1M, and just like the experiences I've had with the car, like going to all the car meets and meeting the BMW car community, has made me such a passionate BMW fan. Yeah.
So maybe before we even go anywhere else, let's talk about the 1M, because I told you off camera that I have a 1M also. And I'm going to start with this. I feel like whenever I drive that car, I see so many people taking out photos and taking, snapping photos of the car more than when I drive a 7 Series that maybe cost 3-4 times what that car cost. What's your experience, with the 1M when you take it out for a drive?
Yeah, it's definitely so special. I'm never getting rid of it. Is yours also a Valencia orange?
Valencia orange, yeah.
Yes, the
Same.
right color. The right
I know.
Hey now.
But obviously it's such a bright car, and I think definitely for the enthusiasts out there that do recognize it, yeah, it definitely gets a lot of attention. I have rolled up to meets though when people don't really know the car and they're like, "Oh my God, is that a 135?" And I'm like, "How could you? How could you?" But I love the car. I mean, yeah, it's just super special for sure. Actually, one of the craziest experiences I've had was I rolled up to a dealer here in California, and I remember some guy coming up to me and he was like, I'll give you literally like $80,000 cash right now for your car. And I was like, no. But that just goes to show, I mean, it's such a special car and a unique car.
And I know you drive a lot of new BMWs, but tell me, what do you like most about the 1M, aside from the fact that it's rare, and so unique and all of that?
For sure. I mean, it's just so raw. I mean, it's manual, 6-speed manual, and I love like perfecting that heel toe, going through the corner, getting it right. And less electronics, not as many nannies.
Right.
I hate to say this, but like in the newer like BMWs, like having to press multiple times on the touchscreen to get my fan to turn on, like I hate that. I hate that.
That's funny, because during our last shoot, there was 3 of us. One of them was a BMW product guy. We're all swarmed around the car trying to figure out like how to turn things off. So we're all like pushing buttons. It's like, I totally understand that.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay,
just
so
I guess like typical, not raw, more raw of a car, in my opinion. Very nimble, love the sound.
Do you have any mods on it, or?
I have a few. A lot of
Okay.
dine-in parts.
Nice.
Upgraded my intercooler, oil cooler, put a Brembo BBK in. I did get a software tune, and then I had a custom exhaust made for the car, and then some carbon fiber bits and pieces.
Very
So
cool.
kind of like OEM plus, still kind of keeping it classy.
Nice. That's cool. And I guess based on my research also, I know that your dad also did the European delivery on the car. Do you recall that experience?
He did not take me with him.
He didn't.
I was probably in high school or even before that. I think I was like 13 when he did that. So I was
That's too
probably in
bad.
school at the time, but he did do European delivery and then he immediately took it on the Nürburgring and it's got that little Nürburgring sticker on the back. And now I can finally say I've driven the ring, so I am justified.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you just got back from a race there recently, right?
Mhm. Just on
How
the
was
GP
that?
track though. It was a
Oh, okay,
lot
it
of
was just the
fun.
GP.
Yeah, podiumed, so it was a good experience, but
Right.
typical Nürburgring weather. It was like 15 degrees Celsius and raining. It was miserable and it's like middle of July. Just typical Eiffel weather. But I love the whole Nordschleife. Like I'm in the process of getting my permit. So for those who don't know, you need to do 3 races to get a permit A. If you do just the classroom and the lead follow stuff, you get a permit B, which allows you to race in the slowest class cars. I'm trying to get my permit A so I can drive the big boy cars.
Awesome.
But it's been a lot of fun for sure.
That's awesome. I'm totally jealous. It's something that I'm right there with you. I've been wanting to do for a long time. It would be a lot of fun. So we're following along and watching because we live vicariously a little bit around here.
So maybe since we
Amazing.
started with the racing career, maybe walk us through how you got started, what hooked you, and then we can maybe follow the timeline.
Yeah, for sure. So again, it started way back when in those BMW performance driving schools. I was like, I was like 13 or 14 at the time when I started doing these, but like whipping the car around, having the time of my life doing those programs. And then I did the Ferrari driving experience over at Mont Tremblant in Canada. And at the end of the program, they allowed all the participants to sit in a 458 challenge car and go on a hot lap with a pro driver. And needless to say, I had the time of my life. And as soon as I got out of the car, I was like, Dad, I want to be a race car driver. Sorry. So started the process of getting my regional racing license, started racing when I was just 16 years old, which is actually pretty late for most race car drivers, but did a bunch of regional races here in the US. My first race car was a 1991 Honda Civic. Humble beginnings. I think it was a 4-speed. I remember I could barely reach the pedals at the time. But then since then, I did my first national series that year in a Mini Cooper S JCW, was crowned Rookie of the Year that year, and then moved over here into the States to do my first like pro series called Pirelli World Challenge at the time, now SRO America. I raced with Kia actually, and then since then started my team in 2017, Samantha Tan Racing, when we decided to move into the touring car class with the all new BMW M235 IRs, and that kind of just like started the whole BMW journey. Obviously, always been a fan, but it just seemed like the right move for us, and that car like dominated that class that year, so it was a really good move. And then drove the M4 GT4 for 3 years after that, was very successful, won 6 championship titles in 2021 alone, so it was great.
Awesome.
And then last year, some of you guys know, picked up the first 2 M4 GT3s at the Welt. They were delivered. It was
I
amazing.
remember that.
Thank you, BMW, for that experience. And we were actually the first in the world to win with the M4 GT3 that year in Mugello. So it's come full circle. We're now at the top class of BMW. It's been amazing, and now being a BMW Motorsport ambassador as well this year is just cherry on top.
Congratulations. So, for any aspiring racing drivers, what does it take to go from one class to the next one? I mean, how did you how did you have to perfect your skills, or what did you have to do in order to move higher and higher in classes?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, it
any
took me
advice
a
that you might
long
have for
time.
anyone?
For
Okay.
sure. I think first and foremost, everybody knows racing is one of the most expensive sports. So sponsorship is really like the name of the game. You have to have your branding down. And the way that was able to tackle that was I took advantage of social media. Most of my sponsorship comes from social media now. So use it. It's a free marketing tool. Build your brand, show other people why you're unique. But on the skill set wise, seat time is everything, as well as doing all the training you need to do. I'm in the gym at least 5 times a week if I can, if I'm not traveling. And then, yeah, seat time and even participating in a lot of regional races where, you're not in the most expensive car, but you're getting that wheel to wheel kind of practice is really, really helpful.
Understood.
So speaking off of what Horatio said, like what went into the decision making to jump from like the M235 IRs to like the M3 or the M4 GT4 and now the GT3? So those step up, what were those decisions? Was it because you were winning the championships, or was it you just wanted more, faster, bigger? Like what was what went into that thinking?
That bit at the end, wanting faster, more power. Yeah,
Because
that played a
you're
role
right,
for sure.
it
But
does cost a lot more.
yeah, especially moving up in the classes. For me, so my ultimate goal is to go to Le Mans, to be at the 24 Hour of Le Mans and win. So we knew we needed to take these kinds of baby steps to get up to the GT3 level, and so that's why we ended up moving from the touring class to the GT4 platform, because it was what we call a Sprint X format, which was two drivers. We've got a driver change. I don't think we changed tires, but getting that practice to doing those driver changes was super helpful, and it was, I think, a longer race format than in the touring car races. And then I decided to stick into the GT4 for 3 years because I wanted to hone my skills on the same platform. I was basically switching cars every single year, and kind of it's very difficult to learn if you're constantly like changing cars, changing the way it handles, etc., etc. So decided to stay in the GT4 and really like get it down, learn the car as much as I can. And obviously that was very, very helpful. We were the most successful in our final year in that car. And then finally, yeah, moving up into the GT3 class because, well, the car was being released and we just thought it was the right time. We did really, really well in the past. On 2020 and 2021, we won both championships. So it was good. It was a good time.
That's amazing. So I know we don't have a lot of insight into the life of a GT racer, and we usually see the Formula One and all these documentaries and kind of know what's going on. But tell me, how does your life look like when you're constantly moving around from one country to another, one continent to another, and how do you balance all of that?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I always tell people I live out of my suitcase. Literally, I'm never in one place for more than a week. The first thing people text me is, "Where are you?" Not like, "How are you?" Where in the world are you? It's tough. Especially dealing with jet lag. So I'm running two series this year. I'm running GT World Challenge America, GT World Challenge Europe, and then on top of that, getting my Nürburgring license. So I am doing those races over in Nürburgring. It is quite difficult. I try to arrive maybe like at least 2 days before like the on track activities start, just to get acclimated. And then going to the gym actually does help with jet lag a lot. So, and on top of that, helps with training. We have to do a lot of cardiovascular endurance training, a little bit of strength training. For those of you that don't know, we undergo a lot of G's in the car. There can be temperatures of up to 130 degrees in the cockpit. So, if I'm in the car for, let's say, 2 hours, if I'm in an endurance race, I could lose up to 2 pounds of water weight. So, there is that like training aspect to it. So,
Not as fun as it looks like on social media, right? A lot of people think that that's just
I'm like,
that's the
they don't
whole
even
life.
see half of what's going on.
I
But
agree. Would you have any interest or in racing in the new BMW M Hybrid V8, the LMDH car?
yes, that's kind of like the
Yeah.
pinnacle of racing, right? The prototypes, and it's in the top class. It's got so much down for us, and you're going for the overall win. And I'm super excited to see BMW at Le Mans next year in this car. So hopefully I get the chance to drive it someday.
Would you just call them up and say, "Hey, can I test one?" Or do you usually have to reach out? Or
I wish. I wish. Got him on speed dial.
I mean, you can try. I mean, I think that'll be pretty awesome. I mean, it's an amazing looking car. Clearly, I haven't driven one, but I've been around it so many times, and it's just amazing. And I've talked to the drivers quite a bit, and they're all raving about it. So
Yeah, it's
seems
super
like
exciting.
Hey,
fun.
it doesn't hurt to ask.
That's, yep.
So since we're talking about racing, and it's not just all about BMWs, but also just racing in general, maybe let's start with Formula One a little bit. Such a hot topic in the US. Everybody seems that they've just found Formula One here. So we start with that, and then what I want to go next is really to talk about the future of racing, how that might be changing. So Formula One, what's your favorite team, favorite driver, and why?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't follow Formula One too closely actually,
Okay,
but I did have the opportunity to meet Max and Checo last year over at the Miami GP. I interviewed them for Tag Heuer. They were great.
awesome.
So Red Bull's one of my favorite teams. Ferrari as well, if I'm allowed to say that. Even though their strategist has been absolutely terrible.
For
um
sure.
but yeah, it's been super cool to see how many fans have like gotten interested in Formula One because of the Drive to Survive series. I think we definitely need something like that for sports car racing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, honestly, I was joking about that, but it's absolutely true. The documentary on Netflix has done wonders for the sport for sure. And with that being said, how do you see the future of car racing? Because I've been around Formula E, for example, for quite some time, actually early days when nobody really wanted to talk about that. And I was excited for a little bit, then it kind of fell off the cliff. Do you think that car racing will be still combustion kind of focused, or do you see more electric cars going into that?
Well, definitely, I feel like a lot of car manufacturers are, prioritizing sustainability and coming out with more electric vehicles, like especially BMW. BMW's come out with a lot of electric
A
vehicles
lot, yeah.
or hybrids, right? And then now you see the whole hybrid class in IMSA and race cars being developed with the hybrid system. So I definitely think it's headed in that direction. I don't know if it's going to be fully electric because I mean everybody loves the sound of race cars flying by. That's part of the experience, right? But I hope combustion engines stick around because that's like kind of what I love about racing is the smell of race fuel, the sound of the engine.
Sure.
But of course, sustainability is super important as well, and it'd be cool to. I don't know if Formula E is going to become as popular as Formula One. What do you think?
Probably not. I mean, I've been to quite a few races in different European cities, and it's an interesting experience, but it's not Formula One, honestly.
Mhm,
So that's
mhm.
it's just very, very different. And it's a shorter race. Yeah, it's just not the same, honestly.
Yeah, it doesn't have like as big of a fan base. What I do find interesting though is that they can host these races kind of like wherever because they are electric. And I think like I went to the one in Montreal, I think a few years ago, and it was just like right there in the city. And I think that's like super cool.
Yeah, so they've done that in a few cities initially, and then people started to complain, especially in Germany. So initially, the first race, the first race was in Berlin, and I guess a couple of years later, they had to move it out of the city next to the airport because
Mhm.
people were complaining about sound. I'm like, what sound, you know?
Yeah.
So
Sound of a vacuum cleaner or something.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, even BMW kind of pulled out, I guess, after a couple of years or 3 years, whatever they were in. But if we're talking about your team, how do you see your team evolving from where you are today?
Ooh. Hmm.
Oh, tough one.
Well, I hope to see us growing. I mean, we want to be like, I want to bring my team to Le Mans. That would be amazing. But, with all the new changes with the hybrid class and with the GT3 class, it's like extremely difficult to get an entry. But anyway, we
And
do want
difficult as far
to.
as technical aspects or money wise?
Both, both.
Okay,
So for Le Mans specifically, if like a manufacturer has a prototype entered, like the LMDH or something,
sure.
then they get two entries only. and it's
Okay.
basically limited based on the manufacturer. So if you're not like already on the list to be a driver
Mhm.
for them, that you can kiss that goodbye. But in terms of my team, yeah, we're gonna continue growing here in the States. We've got another GT4 coming in, so we're definitely expanding.
That's
It's
amazing.
been really exciting to see and seeing people respect us more.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, honestly, I feel like the GT racing, it's the way to go, especially in the US. I mean, as much as I like some of the other racing, I just don't find it always too exciting, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
because
I've been
there's a
talking
lot
with
of
Bill
like
Oberlin
wheel to
about
wheel.
that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bill kind of like agrees, that's why he's having so much success right now doing that.
Mm, yeah, and that's also why I didn't really end up going the Formula route because like you can't really touch other people and Revan's racing. So
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm just the endurance thing. I think is just adds that extra element to it. You know, the strategy, like you say with Le Mans, going through the nighttime. It's just like it's a whole different realm, and just adds a whole awesome feature to racing. It's just through the elements, through time, round the clock, like swapping drivers. I mean, there's just so much to it than just 45 minutes of going at it really hard.
yeah, it definitely is like a true test of like the entire team, not just like the drivers, but the car and like how well the pit stops are done, for example. It's just, I have so much fun in endurance racing. It's just incredible.
So, so now let's see if we can push BMW to let you drive that BMW M V8.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to ask you the question then. So let's see if you can convince them. What do you think is your biggest strength when it comes to racing? And you can brag about this. It's absolutely fine.
My consistency for sure.
Okay.
Being able to run within like half a second every lap, I think is really what sets me apart. And that's what makes a good endurance driver. It's not necessarily about having like the fastest lap, but you can only do it for one lap, It's about consistently doing the same lap time every time.
Mhm.
And it's like smooth as fast, right?
Gotcha. True. Favorite racetrack in the US and favorite racetrack in the world?
This is another really tough question.
Choices.
So I have never been to Watkins, but I recently drove it on a sim and it looks like a lot of fun. I feel like if I actually go there, that would be my favorite track, but for now, it's definitely VIR. It's very like fast paced, it's beautiful. Going up the S's like flat at like 200 kilometers an hour is just so much fun.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the S's are amazing at BIR. Just hitting those curbs and bouncing over. It's just
Holding on for life.
you're holding on, just completely floored. Yeah, those are amazing sets of corners, and like you said, it's just beautiful. You're just like driving through trees and rolling grass hills. It's
hmm
fantastic.
I know we miss Oak Tree, but it's
Pour one
still a lot
out.
of fun. And then abroad, Nürburgring,
Never mind. Okay.
Nürburgring. It would have been Spa for
Uh-huh.
sure, but after driving Nürburgring, it's like there really isn't anywhere, there isn't another place like it in the world, you know? It's just got
Yeah.
such incredible rhythm and flow, and it's like, and through the trees, I cannot imagine what it's like driving there at night. Like, like it's already terrifying in an
Yeah.
M240. Like,
I was just going to say, what if you're in the M240 class at night with the GT3 cars coming up on you? I mean, that just sounds terrifying.
yes, and it's like so funny. It's actually more scary in the M240 because you've got so much less downforce. And so when you're going over bumps and stuff, like the whole car really shifts like one lane over. So like going down Foxhole Flat and it's like flying around everywhere. Getting passed by a GT3 there, by the way, is very uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. All right, so let's talk more cars now, not necessarily racing.
hmm
Um, have you owned any other BMWs aside from the ones that we've talked about?
Yes, so BMW gave me a M8 Comp as a loaner for winning the championship in 2020 and then again in 2021. It was my daily for 3 years, basically. I
Nice.
loved it. I honestly, when I first received it, I thought it was going to be too big for me and like too heavy, but it was so great for long drives. It sounds so good when it backfires. And now I do have the XM, which is a lot
You do?
bigger.
Okay. Interesting. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
So BMW, if you're watching this, you probably are watching this. This is off the record, so she's off the record, so anything goes.
The appearance is definitely still growing on me, guys. I really liked the M8. It's a lot to look at. It's a lot to look at. I should say that. The interior, I really like, though. I will say,
nice.
with the interior lighting, and the like suede roof, it's beautiful. That big screen, which, like I said, I am not really a big fan of the new electronics, but I mean, it's a luxury vehicle, so it's nice.
Right. Do you like the ride, or what do you like about the ride and what you don't?
Right now, I haven't really figured out the way that I can like fully unlock the power yet, so I'm still messing around with all the settings. But with the hybrid system, I feel like it's got really great torque. The ride itself is also really smooth, so again, it's like really good for long drives. I've been driving like back and forth between LA, so it's a good grocery getter in comparison to the M8. In comparison to the M8.
I think if they would have, and I've said this in my reviews quite a few times, if they would have labeled the XM as an X8 M70 something hybrid, they would have been able to market the car a little bit better, because people would have expected a Range Rover type of vehicle or a G-Wagon versus an M car, and then maybe the expectations would have been a little bit lower, because now people complain, aside from the the design, which is subjective for sure, but they complain about, well, it's not a real M car, it's not that. So they could have just simply changed the badge, and they would have probably sold even more by just having it as a soccer SUV, soccer mom SUV type of thing, and especially if you look in some of those markets like Miami and LA, I would imagine bigger families that would buy the XM because it's luxurious, it's cool. But if you're trying to sell it to enthusiasts, it might be a little bit tough.
Yeah, I can agree to that. You know what they need to bring, though? The M3 Touring. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, actually. So
I've been begging them. Every time I go back to Germany, I'm like, guys, we got to keep working on this. I got to sit in one over at Le Mans, and it sounded amazing. And I think it's just like the perfect size. I would definitely get one.
Great, yeah, I'm on the same boat. I've been on their case for the last couple of years too, and I've been saying that they should bring it, and I guess there's some homologation issues and political issues there, so they're not going to bring it on this generation, from what I know for sure. But they are bringing the M5 Touring, which they're different because, like you say, the M3 Touring is like the perfect size. For some reason, even the Kine grill works really well on that car. I don't know, it just works a lot better, and it's the ideal car. But then again, you can bring it as a show on display. Probably, I know a tuning shop in New Jersey that actually got.
But I'd want to drive mine.
Well, you can drive up to 3,000 miles a year, so
that's a good amount. That's a good amount.
Yeah, it's not bad. But you can. I mean, the M5 Touring is coming and goes into production late next year, so that's coming to the US. They haven't confirmed it, but I know it's coming.
I know. We know. Little
So
birdie told us.
But would you be thinking about that one, or
the M5 Touring? Yeah, you know what? I might have requested it as my loaner if it had come sooner. Yeah, but back to the XM. I mean, it's not. Is it a real M car? I don't know. I would love to track it just to see. I saw that one drifting video where they
I saw it too.
sent it, and I went to Pikes Peak, didn't it?
Yes, it crashed.
I'm not sure. The results weren't what they were going for.
Oh no.
I'm not sure if you ever met Matt Mullins.
Yes. I was actually just with him.
Oh, okay. So Matt unfortunately got into a crash with the car a few minutes in.
No.
Yeah, he's fine, but the car was pretty damaged from what I saw in the video. I mean, really, really damaged.
Oh, yikes. Well, I hope they get to try again next year.
So they're saying, they would really want to set that record. So I guess they're gonna try to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just with him over at the M Track Days in Austin.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
I got to drive the M3 X Drive, which I was very
Okay.
surprised by. Like so much power, great handling. I should have gone one of those.
Yeah, I mean that car just puts down the power so well. It's a fantastic car. And Nate, actually, we went to the performance center on the East Coast, and we
Mm.
tracked the M3 CS, which is even better.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Nate actually had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, you point out the X Drive, man. Coming out of those corners, it's just a rocket. Like just mind-boggling how quickly it just wants to go.
Yeah, and then the the ones that I had, do they all come with carbon ceramic brakes?
No,
Maybe.
I think they're optional. Yeah,
Options. Okay. Well,
yeah,
definitely get those if you're getting one. I was taking
we
people
need
for
that.
hot laps the entire day, and it was
Yeah,
108 degrees Fahrenheit, and the cars were running great. So, applause to
that's awesome.
BMW for that.
Hot
Yeah, the
laps
usually
is
the
so much fun to give.
I made someone sick, sadly. Just one. Just one. But that's kind of the goal, too.
Well,
exactly.
not sick, scared. You want to scare them.
So funny, like the range of reactions. Either people are like
Uh-huh.
really like dead silent, or people are like screaming. And like the quiet people, like you have to worry about. I'm like, are you okay? Like, is everything okay?
I'm always way more afraid of the quiet ones, but it's always amazing to show what the car's capable of. There's so many times that people get out of the car and they're like, I just never knew, you
Yeah,
know.
right. Yeah.
Since you create so much content for social media, you should have slapped the GoPro inside and kind of capture everybody's reaction. That would have been amazing.
I should have. Oh, next time. Next time.
Did they let you drive the M2 also?
No, I
No?
didn't. I
Okay, so
heard
you haven't
it
had a
was.
chance.
I was like asking people because they had them running for the autocross, and I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
how does it handle?" And there was like a couple people who do own the older generation M2, and they're like, "Oh, it's a lot more like stable and nimble." So I haven't had the chance yet, but I'd be interested in trying to drive one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was going to ask you what you think about the car. Because it's, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
aside
appearance
from the
wise,
looks,
yeah.
aside from
Again,
the
I was
looks,
like, it's
does it
also
look better in real life?
growing on me. Does it look better in real life? I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. At least they went back to the smaller grills.
Hmm.
But again, still growing on me. Definitely.
So they are making an M2 CS, which apparently looks really nice.
Hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what they're changing on it, but they're making an M2 CS. It's gonna look a lot better apparently, and it's gonna have a lot of power, like over 500 horsepower.
What?
Yeah, so off the record again.
I can't imagine like a little car like that having 500 horsepower.
Yeah, so that's the car that I'm thinking to match it, to pair it with my 1M. That's the only car that I'm really thinking about,
Wow.
aside from a
Ooh.
Porsche maybe.
Oh no. He's going to the dark side.
I don't know if that's the dark side. I think that's a good side still. I mean, they do make some fantastic cars, you
Oh,
know.
for sure, for sure. If I were to get a Porsche, it'd probably be the GT3 RS.
Really.
Yeah.
And why is that?
I don't I just really like the way it looks and sounds and drives too. So
So no Cayman GT4 or anything like that, or
I haven't had the opportunity to drive one yet,
yeah,
which I heard
you
they're
should.
actually like really nice to drive. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
They are so balanced and planted.
Yeah.
It almost feels like cheating.
You're like, how is it doing that?
Yeah, you just hammer through some things, and you're just like that's ridiculous.
Hmm.
So speaking of cars, so we've talked about what you've had. What cars would you like to have?
Well, just for sentimental value, I really want to get an E36 M3 just to give an homage to my dad and my childhood. And also, I've just wanted an older BMW for a while. Probably get it in, I don't know, Avis Blue, maybe.
Nice color. That's a nice color.
Or a Storl, I don't know. What else? Another BMW? I
Or
do
any other brand,
have.
honestly.
I have an M8 Grand Coupe on order right now.
Ooh,
Tanzanite
nice.
blue, white interior, carbon buckets,
You have
which
to.
is a lot. It's really hard to get in and out of, and it's gonna be really
I know.
difficult to have as a daily. But I had to. I had to.
Agreed.
Yeah, but any
And
other
from other brands?
Any other brands?
Yeah.
Hmm. One of my dream cars is the Ferrari FXXK.
Okay.
Just because
Nice
it's
one.
like a full like track car, race car-esque. So I've never had
That would
the
be cool.
opportunity to sit in one or drive one. So one day, hopefully.
That's amazing. All right. So maybe we talk now about your new car that's been announced, unannounced. I'm not even sure. I know you've teased it on Instagram, so
A
we
little
can talk
bit,
about that because
yeah.
I guess a lot of people have seen it. I've seen it personally. So the BMW 3.0 CSL, if in case people don't know, 50 units globally. It was never meant to come to the US. It cost around $750,000, and you can tell me if I'm correct
Yeah.
or not. And I guess so far, from what I know, two people in the US only have it. Yourself and another gentleman, Boris said. So
Yes.
tell me about that story. Why did you think about buying the car, and what was the whole process like?
Yeah, I mean, to get an invite to one is an honor, honestly, to be thought of as one of the 50 from BMW. So that was one of the, reasons why we decided to get one. And also, after seeing I think it was called the Homage R.
Homage, yeah, correct.
Yeah, I absolutely loved the look of it. And obviously the 3.0 is like kind of modeled off of that. It just looks so good, in my opinion. And it's just such a special car. So, yeah.
But $750,000. So a
Yeah,
lot of people say,
that's definitely a big issue.
so in case you haven't seen the comments on social media, let
Ugh.
me bring you up to speed. Like,
It's
the
like you
car
could
is
buy a
not worth
Ferrari.
that much more. Exactly. I can buy two Ferraris. I can buy that. The car is not worth it. It's just an M4 CSL with a body kit. But tell me, like, is it worth it, and why?
Oof. I mean, again, it's like one of 50, guys. Come on. Even though
Exactly.
it's like, maybe it's like M4 CSL with a body kit on it, but
A
I
little
think
bit.
it's just so special. And it'll be a lot of fun to drive. I think they're all manual, no?
They're all manual, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
manual's a dying breed. Come on.
it is for sure. I mean, they're not gonna make any other cars with
Yeah,
manuals anymore.
I
So
don't know if it's like fully gonna justify the price, but I feel like they're gonna go up in value. I mean, again, they're so limited, and again, it's like an honor to be invited for sure.
So tell me about that experience. So they called you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But like
yeah,
two in the US, I mean, that's not just extremely limited. That's like crazy
a
rare.
lot. Yeah, and then we also
Which,
actually have the Jeff Koons car as well.
oh, you do the A series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which
Nice.
I'm
That's cool.
surprised they didn't do it on like an M8 comp. I don't know why they
Me
chose the
too.
850, but still looks cool. Looks cool.
Yeah, me too. I was wondering when the car came out why they didn't do that. But on the CSL topic again, because I'm not willing to let it go easily.
For sure, for sure.
Did you deal directly with Frank Van Mill, or you had to go through like different channels, or
Different
how does that
channels,
process work?
basically.
I mean,
And again, it's still like we're still figuring out how to import it. Been in discussion with Boris on how he does it, but obviously Boris is like previous BMW factory
mhm,
driver, long time BMW
knows the
partner,
ropes.
so he always finds a way. But yeah.
Gotcha. And when you went to the factory, can you tell me more about the build process and all of that? Haven't been there yet. I mean,
Mhm.
there was an event there, but I didn't go to that one. And I've seen the photos and the footage, all of that. But can you tell me more about how the car is being built and all of that?
Yeah, so I didn't actually get to go inside the factory. I think
Okay.
basically BMW had invited us all these CSL like owners to the basically unveiling slash delivery event. and I was unable to go because I was racing. But then they invited me over to the Welts to go and see their car, the number 50, just to go see it and sit in it and get familiarized. So it took me to the back which was where they also showed us the M4 GT3 when they first unveiled it. So it was a pretty cool experience, and it was just me and a couple other BMW guys. So it was very like intimate and special.
Awesome. That's awesome. And if you get to the US, like, would you daily drive the car? Because I just posted an article yesterday that somebody is actually driving the car in Switzerland.
I mean, it's a car, it's meant to be driven, so that's just my mentality for a lot of things.
Good for you. That's
At least
amazing.
cars and coffee, right?
Exactly. Maybe would I drive it on the track? Should I? Maybe do like a couple laps.
That'll be
Obviously,
awesome.
freaking ceramic coat it before I do anything, but you know.
I have an alternative motive why I asked that, as I told you earlier, because if you are planning on driving the car, I would absolutely fly to LA to just get a ride in it. You can put a GoPro on it and go for a ride. I don't want to drive the car because I would be afraid to drive it, but I would love to sit right next to you and just kind of film the whole experience. So let me know when you get the car, because
I'll
I'll
let you
fly
know.
down there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to do that, but just remember that I was the first one to ask you that. So.
First tips.
I know, absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you get a car, you absolutely have to drive it. I mean, there is no point to. It's not going to depreciate in value just because you drive it once in a while. Honestly, it's so unique, so rare. And two in the US. I mean, honestly, that car it's gonna go up in price over time, even though it might dip initially. Like, I just don't think people will sell it honestly either. I don't see any of these owners actually going to sell the car, to be honest.
No, really. Yeah, I think most people are gonna hold
So,
on to it for a while.
yeah. What's next for you this year? Like, what else do you have planned as far as maybe driving, racing?
So I actually fly out tomorrow morning to Road America because we're testing. It's my birthday on the 9th, so I'm gonna be driving race cars on my birthday. The best
Happy
birthday
birthday.
gift. Thank you. But we're racing there the following week, so we're just getting our practice in, getting refamiliarized with the track. And the M4 GT3 just came off 2 P2s over at VIR, so we're really excited to get back into it. We're still in the championship hunt. And then I think I go back to Nürburgring for NLS 6, which is also the weekend that I think Red Bull is doing that like big promo event where they're going to have Vettel and Ricardo, I think, driving some of the old F1 cars out on track, which is going to be insane. It's going to sound so good. But finishing up my permit class or my permit races there, so I have 2 more to go. Have to finish in the top 75% on my little M240, and then I'm going to be headed to, I believe, Barcelona after that. And then Sebring for GT World Challenge America, back to Barcelona for the GT World Challenge Europe season finale, and then back to Indy. This is all 5 weekends back to back to back for the Indy 8 Hour, which is going to be the last race on the calendar for me this year. And then I am off for vacation because it's been the craziest year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Nate, I know that I've talked too much. I wasn't planning on talking that much, so let me know if you have any questions.
No, you've been good. No.
You have any questions?
Well, you have a very unique livery on your race cars. What went into the thinking behind all of that? Like, what came up? What was the inspiration? Was that your idea? Was it a team thing? Like, it's very cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So, I'm a bit of an artist myself. That's what I do in my spare time, if I have any spare time. Um, Actually, one of my race rituals used to be like sitting down and drawing like little tattoos on myself. So, you can see I have one permanently now. But anyway, um, our first like kind of like art livery was inspired by Starry Night, one of my favorite pieces of all time by Van Gogh. And we ran that on our GT4 for 2 years, and it was also kind of inspired by the BMW art cars, which I think are iconic. And we wanted to continue that kind of thing. Kind of became like the Samantha Tan racing thing and like brand, is to have like these art cars. So this year and last year we kind of did an evolution of it, of Starry Night, and it was also inspired by like California sunset, so that's why there's like the pink and the purple on the car. But these were all kind of designed by my creative director, George Bakur, who is also our team photographer. So you've probably seen some of his photos on my page. Super talented. But yeah, he took that idea and just ran with it. So
No, I love it because race car liveries can just
be
there's
so
so much
bland.
so bland and boring, and it's just like you have this amazing canvas, and it's like it's cool to see someone do something different and really stand out. So good on you for doing that.
I appreciate that.
Because it makes it unique, and as you know, with social media, it makes you stand out. So
Mhm.
it's cool. I like it.
Thank you.
And then continue with the race car stuff. I'd say I know John, one of your co-drivers, very well, and I
Miller?
know yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Oh,
I have two
yeah.
Johns. So-
Well, my next question is like I know you have some very experienced co-drivers as well. So like, how's that team dynamic and like learning from these guys with all this experience and
Mhm.
like, how's that helped you develop as a driver?
I mean, John Miller. I've also driven with John Edwards this year, so that's why I have to differentiate. But Miller has been with my team since like 2018, both as a driver and a coach, and it's just like so helpful for me learning from an experienced driver, because I know that I can trust their opinion, and like being able to learn from their data and all of their experiences has just helped me kind of like shorten the learning curve a little bit. But yeah, it's been an honor being able to work with these guys, especially like John Edwards, and now I have Neil Verhagen in the car with me, one of the BMW juniors, and I feel like I've learned so much this year. I'm like a sponge.
Exactly. Especially, I forgot about John Edwards. I forgot that he's got so many years of being a factory driver now.
Mhm.
So that's got to be really cool to learn kind of like the ins and outs of the factory side of the things. And I'm sure if you ever got the tap on that shoulder, that would be like a lifelong dream. So it
Yeah.
must be cool to be side by side with them.
For sure, because like some of these guys like helped develop the cars that we are racing, so I know that they know the car like the back of their hand. So again, that adds like another layer of like helping me learn faster. Well,
Nate? Nate?
did we lose him?
No, we did lose my camera somewhere along the line.
I
I
know
tried
we
fixing
did.
that,
We'll
but
figure it out.
no, you got me thinking now about how if it was a different timeline, I could be racing as well. But
Why a different timeline? You can start whenever.
I know.
I
Horatio, we'll
always
just work on the sponsorships there.
Yeah,
Came to the wrong
that's a
guy.
big barrier. That's a big barrier.
You heard the advice from Samantha. You go on social media and you raise money. I mean, honestly, you're doing a great job with the platform, and congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Because you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't use it, and it's there. It's free to use. It's all about how creative you can get with it. But maybe let's talk a little bit about that because we have a few more minutes. Maybe tell me how do you use social media? How do you plan on using social media, and what does it do for your brand too?
Yeah, I mean, on top of like being able to share kind of like the behind the scenes of my life, it kind of also helps me connect with fans and take them along the journey with me, because like you said, like a lot of people don't get to see what goes into like the race car driver life. And then I also get to share my passions, like cars and stuff. So it's like always a lot of fun. But what I do is like, again, it's like if you're posting all the things that you're interested in, then you're able to go to brands and be like, look, I'm using your product, or I'm using this, and I'm like a really big fan of your products and I would love to work with you. It just helps that, because then they're able to see that you're already using the product, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a
Yeah.
little tip from me, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's there for the grabs, and people should use it as much as possible. And I love the fact that you're combining your personal life with the professional life as well, and it just blends in nicely, and it's not boring. Because if you see just racing cars all the time, and that might not
Yeah,
be
yeah, and my whole feed is already cars, so
exactly.
trying to bring in the other aspects of my life. And then it just makes it like more personable,
Hmm. Absolutely. So Canada or US?
Oh, well, well, I moved out clearly. I still love Toronto. That's always going to be my home.
Oh yeah.
But I've escaped the depressing cold winters and moved out here. Moved out here in 2015 for college and just never ended up leaving. So
Gotcha.
I'm barely home anyway. I'm always
Yeah.
traveling. So
And what's your connection with Chicago? Because I know a few years back you were doing something in Chicago with the team. Maybe it was the M240i. Maybe it was with a local dealership, or was it a partnership? I remember seeing some content maybe a few years ago.
Chicago.
Maybe Westmont, BMW
Oh
Westmont,
yeah,
maybe something.
Laurel BMW. So
Laurel, Laurel, yeah.
they were a partner of ours for a while.
Oh,
Yeah, we actually
gotcha.
bought our race cars through them.
Gotcha.
So
Because I remember seeing that car. They've been my dealership also for the last probably 10 years.
okay, for
I
sure.
remember going there. Yeah. And I saw a car, I think, a couple of times there.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, but
Awesome.
I
Cool.
don't really go out there too much anymore. I'm always connecting through Chicago though.
Yeah. Not the best place to connect through, but yeah. So I always let our guests kind of, give them the floor if you have any questions for us. I mean, we're not that interesting, but if you have any
No.
questions for us, we're open to answer.
I'm interested on what's your favorite aspects of the 1M.
So my favorite aspect of the 1M, I'm just gonna be honest, just the fact that it's so rare. Don't get me wrong, like it's such a rare car. Every time I tell people that I have that car, they're like, "Oh my god, really?" So it just makes me feel better. Honestly, I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." I'm never gonna sell it just because of that reason. Like
The ego
you,
boost, yeah.
exactly all about that ego. I am guilty. That's one of my sins, unfortunately. But so yeah, so that's one of them because during COVID, there were a couple of people that I think they offered me even 90,000 for the car. It's fairly low miles, like 30,000 miles, pretty OEM.
Ooh.
And I just, yeah, and I'm like, I just don't want to sell it. I'm like, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah, for sure. I
But
just hit 100K
well, 100K, yeah.
kilometers on the
Mine
car.
is a garage queen. I don't drive it too much, but for one reason only. So I picked up the car in Europe also. So I did the European deliveries and I went to the Nürburgring and I drove it and it's a lot of fun. And I had it on the track too. And if I were to live in LA, I would enjoy the car a lot more. But in Chicago, the stop and go traffic, that car it's not pleasant to drive. The suspension is harsh. The roads are not great. The 6-speed manual can be, quite tricky
A
in that
lot,
car.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for that reason, living here, being so flat, no really good places to drive on. I mean, it's just not that exciting.
Mm,
But regardless, I mean, it's a fantastic car. It feels like it was just put together to be a proper BMW, and they're never going to make one like that ever
ever
again.
again.
So
It was like a mishmash of a bunch of different things, right? Like M3 chassis, I don't know, 135
exactly.
wide body.
Exactly. And it's got an interesting history behind it. Some people might say that it's not good looking, but every time that I look at the car from behind, I'm like, how can you say that? This car is
Exactly.
like, come on.
I
And
always
it's,
look back at it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, so wide, so massive. It's just something about the car. And mine is stock. I mean, honestly, I have no options on it. No screen, manual seats. I was cheap when I bought it. I'm like, I'm not going to spend money on this car more than I should. And now looking back, it was the right choice because I saw a car recently when we went to South Carolina and he had the screen in it. And I'm like, now it just looks cheap and tacky,
Yeah, they date the car.
Yeah, it's updated. Yeah. So I made the right choice. I had a Vorsteiner carbon fiber kit on it for a while
Okay.
in the front, but I was scraping it all the time in Chicago, so I took it out, gave it to a friend. But I still kept the rear diffuser, which is carbon fiber from them, which is cool. And I do have an exhaust system from Eisenbahn. It's a racing exhaust, so it's quite loud.
Ooh.
I'm thinking about going back to stock. Honestly. That's my next project.
Your neighbors hate you.
Pretty much. Pretty much. It is really loud. But yeah, that's kind of what I like about the 1M, honestly. It's such a unique car, so rare too. I mean,
It's the rarity.
hard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just being honest.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. It's great talking to you. If we can ever help with anything, please let us know. I'm sure we'll run into each other. I'm not sure if you go into Monterey Car Week.
I can't. I'm
You
racing,
can't. Okay.
sadly.
Gotcha.
Well, not
Okay.
sadly, but
Yeah, it's part of your job, so you have to be there. But I'm sure we'll run into each other at future events.
yeah.
So,
Well, if you're going to the BMW M track days at Indianapolis, I will also be giving hot laps there.
I'm not sure when you're going. There is an event at the end of August. They asked me.
I will be there.
That's the one.
I think
Yeah,
that's the
that's the one.
one.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the one that I'm working on with the Midwest guys and also with the Performance Center. So I might be there actually. I think it's the last weekend in August or the
Awesome.
week before that. No, I think it's the 26th or
Yep.
25th, something like
I'll
that.
be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So I might actually be there. So yeah,
Sweet.
good because I'm coming. Yeah. So yeah, perfect. So maybe we'll get some hot laps. I'll
Mhm.
bring some GoPros and we should ask these guys to also give you the M2 because I definitely want you to drive the M2 to
Yeah, I would
kind
love to
of
try
get your
that.
opinion on it. So
Yeah.
let me work my magic. Let me see if I can pull that off. I don't have a lot of pull. Maybe I have a little bit of pull, but we'll see.
I can do a little review in the car.
Exactly. That always works.
Awesome.
Well, thank you once again. I really appreciate it. I guess we're gonna drop your Instagram handles if people don't have it. I'm sure they do, but we'll drop it in there so they follow you. And once again, thanks you. And I guess we'll see you in the next one if you want to come back.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.